You will never be able to check the box on your marketing if you constantly have to wake up and seek leads. The way that you win the game of marketing is when you can wake up and create the kind of content where you've been sought. So in this video, I'm going to teach you a very quick calculation I use so I know exactly how many leads a project needs so I actually can exit the marketing role and still get that daily drip. Let's dive in. Should we dive in? Not to set the bar just as high, but today's just as good. Okay. What I'm going to share with you guys first is a really cool video I found from David Ogilvy in like 1960. And he had just seen a computer and a credit card. And he was like, what? And he's getting older. And it's a video he made training some of like corporate executives about marketing. And in my marketing degree, we're taught a very specific type of marketing called general advertising. We're not taught this world at all. You're taught, and he literally I saw this, I was like, what, this is awesome. I played this in the offer mine I did in 2019 with 600 people here. I found it, I was like, this is nuts. You guys want to see it? Yeah. It was like an 8-minute video. I cut it down to 3 minutes with subtitles because he sounds like Sean Connery a little bit. You'll face a golden future. Right? Anyway, so this is awesome because it'll tee up really what we do in marketing. Right, where we're not making this up, right? Even back to Ogilvy, there's a stark difference between general marketing and advertising and direct marketing and advertising. And I'm absolutely throwing rocks at general. It's what I was trained in college. It makes no sense. They have budget. It doesn't make sense. So we're doing exactly the opposite. We're doing direct response, which means simply that we measure the results of our marketing. And it's way easier to do it with this lens on offer hooks. So anyways, we'll watch this video.
In the advertising community today, there are two worlds. Your world of direct response advertising, and that other world, the world of general advertising. These two worlds are on a collision course. You direct response people know what kind of advertising works and what doesn't work. You know to a dollar. The general advertising people don't know. You know that headlines and copy about the product and its benefits sell more than cute headlines and poetic copy. You know to a dollar. The general advertisers and their agencies know almost nothing for sure because they cannot measure the results of their advertising. In print advertising, they opine that short commercials sell more than long copy. You know they're wrong. They indulge in entertainment. You know they're wrong. You know to a dollar they don't. You inhabit a different world. The chasm between direct response advertising and general advertising is wide. On your side of the chasm, I see knowledge and reality. On the other side of the chasm, I see ignorance. You are the professionals. This must not go on. I predict that the practitioners of general advertising are going to start learning from your experience. They're going to start picking your brains. I see no reason why the direct response divisions of agencies should be separate from the main agencies. Some of you may remember when television people and agencies were kept separate. Wasn't that idiotic? I expect to see the direct response people become an integral part of all agencies. You have more to teach them than they have to teach you. Direct response is my first love, and later it became my secret weapon. Whenever I look at an advertisement in a magazine or a newspaper, I can tell at a glance whether the writer has had any direct response experience. Nobody should be allowed to create general advertising until he has served his apprenticeship in direct response. That experience will keep his feet on the ground for the rest of his life. You know, the trouble with many copywriters in general agencies is that they don't really think in terms of selling. They've never written direct response. They've never tasted blood. Until recently, direct response was the Cinderella of the advertising world. Then came the computer and the credit card, and direct marketing exploded. You guys are coming to your own. Your opportunities are colossal. Insist that all your people creative, media, account executives, that they're all trained in your direct response division. And make it a rule in your agency that no copy is ever presented to clients before it has been vetted by a direct response expert. Ladies and gentlemen, I envy you. Your timing is perfect. You've come into the direct response business at the right moment in history. You're onto a good thing. For 40 years, I've been a voice crying in the wilderness, trying to get my fellow advertising practitioners to take direct response seriously. Today, my first love is coming to its own. You face a golden future.
Cool. That's awesome. I don't remember, 1970-ish, something like that. You face a golden future. I always remember that. I love that. Isn't that cool, though? Yeah. And it's like, it really shows that this is not like something we're making, like, it's a very different mentality to do direct response. You're measuring the results of the marketing. They're not thinking in terms of selling, right? The point of marketing is to sell, which is why we only measure marketing in lead gen, right? Not likes, comments, subscribe, shares. That stuff is cool and it's awesome social media metrics, but it is not marketing. If I put a video out and nobody says, tell me more, was it marketing? No, it was just a video. And I'm not saying there's no value there, but don't call it marketing. Amen. Right? This actually very much makes marketing easier because you get to cut out all these decisions of things you're constantly told to go do. Right? Now you're like, oh man, do I need to go do this? Do I need to go? Well, is it going to get people to say, tell me more? If not, why would I do it? All right? I love this. So, I just thought I'm about to jump into the first speech here. I was going to show this to you guys yesterday. If you guys want to book a session with me to do your one-on-one offer hook thing, I actually put the link on the same page where all these resources are going as this workshop's going. StreamHackDemonstrations.com/templates. It's down at the bottom. It's just direct Calendly link, so you guys can just book a time with me. I encourage you to do it soon. So it takes me a little bit, and there's a lot of you. So anyway, I saw a few hands. Oh, yeah. Here you go, Joe.
One of my takeaways from the last couple of days has been what I've seen is when we get to these, what in this room we call Dream 100, I just call them media channels, but these media channels who have like lots and lots of like eyeballs on it, it's all attention. And I feel like in this room we're all like the best in the world at monetizing media channels, but we're usually not good at getting attention. And they're really great at getting attention and terrible at monetizing their attention, right? And so I hear you. Like one of the things I try and do when I'm in the room with greatness is take on the mental syntax of the person who's teaching. Why is this so important for you to say? You said it a few times now, so I want to make sure I really understand. Because I feel like what I learned yesterday was, okay, now I'm really understanding how to use drama and of the dramatic demonstration to get more attention. Like I feel like it's better at getting attention than like a lot of us have done, which is just go straight to the sales conversation, right? So, but now I'm feeling like I didn't totally get it because I'm like, you're like, well, just getting attention isn't enough. So when I think of, hey, if I could get on someone's show and then run an ad on their show, that's marketing. I'm using their attention that they're getting. So I'm just trying to like make sure I'm really getting your mental syntax of why is it so important for you to define what marketing is versus attention? Because isn't the attention what we need to do the marketing?
Yeah, marketing, again, is just the act of creating tell me more situations. Okay. That's really it, right? And I guess part of why I get so far into this is just bringing 30,000 people through the One Funnel Away Challenge. I mean, I can't tell you how many scenarios that is. I mean, it's insane how many backstories. And then questions like, what is marketing came from that, you know? Because just the amount of people to... The first 2 Conv coaching program, 675 students, and I was the only coach. It was insane. So like, I created, we built the program, and then right after that, I mean, it was so much. It was like baptism by fire. After I already was baptism by fire working for, it's like a lot of fire. So it just made me get down to like the brass tacks of what these things are, because someone would be like, I'm doing my content every day, like you said, but I'm not making any sales. I'm like, that makes no sense. And then I'd look at what they're saying and like, well, duh, look what you're saying here. The point isn't to just make noise. Not all noise is cashable, right? It's like it's the difference between creating a video for fame versus a video for leads, right? And it's not saying that you can't do both, and it's not saying that fame can't create leads, but there's a lot of people who are famous who are also broke in terms of directors. So they don't know how to monetize their audience. You can't believe the number of channels that have millions of people on them, but the creator doesn't know how to monetize any of it, you know? So attention itself isn't necessarily cash. Cashable attention is what are you doing with it after that, right? To get people in there. Lawrence.
So are you saying, just to clarify, are you are you saying you want to keep
The lens of any attention-getting things that you're doing with the strategic end in your own mind that's driving towards the tell me more?
I want to keep the lens of what marketing is very tight, because as a room full of innovators and creators, we're all kind of squirrels. You know what I mean? And if you don't set up your machine for it to have the correct attention that's cashable coming to it, we're often very prone to starting to resent our own creation when it could go help a bunch of people. Amen. Right? So this is like the anti-resentment thing, right? The first breeding ground of entrepreneur resentment over their own business are typically around leads and sales, not around what they made. They made something awesome. They went to the creative cave. This is why I feel like I'm called to serve innovators. It's like, what are the innovators innovating? How can I keep them in the innovate? I literally think that keeping innovators innovating and creators having the confidence to create will literally keep us out of socialism. That's it. If I can inspire people to like make stuff, that's it. The moment we sit back and say, well, I'm not going to use my God-given inspiration that I'm having that I could go help a whole bunch of people. Half the stuff I'm teaching right now is stuff that for years I was like, everybody knows that. But I didn't know. You know, I didn't know. And my plan, just so you know, my personal push on this was that when I was going through that divorce in 2019, it got really ugly because I had an audience. And all these people are weighing in on crap that has nothing to do with them. And it sent me into a hole. And I had to learn how to like re-relate with that. And there's a period of time where I was just like, double birds, I'm out. Like, screw everybody in this. Like, I'm going to be a hermit. I'm out. I remember I was a literal prayer. I said, I'm gone. I was in such a deep depression. And I was like, it was so intense for so long. And people were like, why aren't you making any noise? I'm like, because you freaking take advantage of it. You know what I mean? Like, I got super jaded. And then God sent this incredible person named Marley into my life, and she's like, you think you're going to be a hermit? Come on, guy. Right? And then slowly it kind of like crawled out of that a little bit, and I was like, I had to redefine my own purpose. And I realized like, oh my gosh, like, because before that, my fuel source was pain, and I didn't know it. Pain is a very expensive, energetic thing, right? Anger costs a lot. And I didn't know that. You guys remember Hyphy Steve, One Funnel Away?
Yes.
We were just talking about it. Russell's like, I miss Hyphy Steve. Boom. Yeah, that guy. Right? But I look at that. I'm like, freaking damaged, man. I look at that like, oh my gosh, I owe an official apology to everybody's eardrums. You know, like, oh my man. It's like, so I've had to like, oh my, like, it was this self-awareness thing. I just didn't realize how much crap I was going through personally. It's like my actual driver has been me realizing, like, how can I switch my fuel source from pain to purpose? And it made me rethink my purpose. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think my purpose is to help innovators innovate. That's it. And so with that, like, I think part of the problem people have too is they think they need to be Russell and I in order to be successful. You know what I mean? The bar that is set is insane. And so if I can at least treat this as if it's a different departments and businesses where there's a marketing department, well, how do I measure that? You know, there's a funnel department and it's different than marketing. How do I measure that? And that really came from when I was going to leave working with Russell, and we were like, oh crap, we got to like find people to replace what he and I are doing. And so we started trying to find a mini-me. I'm not trying to, this feels like I'm talking about myself a lot on this, but like we kept trying to find a mini-me, but I'm a nerd, you know? And we couldn't. So the way we did it is we built an internal funnel building agency where instead of trying to find somebody who knew all of the Adobe suite and liked writing copy and like, you know what I mean? And like, it's not normal. So it's hard. We often put that whole burden of all those roles on ourselves from in this world, and no wonder we get burnt out. That's insane. No one else does that. That's ridiculous. So it's been it's been a two-edged approach, or I don't know. There's two different paths on this. Is like, well, half of it has been a repurpose finding for me. The other half has been, how can I make this more simple so that it's easier for innovators to innovate and not always from a place of pain? And if I can like help them get more clear on that, they can keep making stuff. Let's stay out of socialism. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Jen. Anyway, long answer. Yeah, but that's really where it comes from, though. Lawrence, and then we'll jump in here. I got to jump in.
Yeah, this is actually partly for Joe for his comment was, and it's also for validation for myself. So the terminology you use for offer hook and so on is not new to me in terms of understanding business, but it's new in terms of language, and it's pretty cool. So the way I was interpreting what Joe was asking was, and so I'm asking you to either validate what I'm saying or fix me. Noise is to me a little bit of a choice. You have to filter the noise, and you filter it specifically to aim at attraction, but that attraction that you're filtering for is only things that lead to conversion. So they have to lead to that tell me more moment, or I don't count it as noise I want to use.
Exactly, yeah. Not all, just like everyone knows in this room, not all cash is created equal, not all profit is created equal, not all noise is created equal, you know? Having attention doesn't necessarily mean sales, right? So that's the kind of, if I'm just going to be an engineer about this and really plan it out, how can I make my offer get all the cashable attention and noise it needs so that not only does it work, but emotionally I feel the confidence to go do it again and keep making more solutions to legitimate problems in the world. You know, it's not enough to just make it. You know, there's a lot of awesome offers. When I look back on my 34 failures over 5 years, none of the offers were bad. That was the crazy part. I get to look back on all of them, and they were all good. What I created was good. That wasn't the problem. But I started like, just nasty internal like conflict 24/7 because I couldn't figure out what to do with it next, you know? And I find that that's what a lot of us get trapped in. So, yeah, anyway, there's the personal motivation. Cool. Circling back, would love to do one-on-one offer hooks with you guys. So anyway, my Calendly link is in there. I'll definitely email out to each one of you guys, but I usually do them on Thursdays and Fridays. And I'm saying that because, if I do two, anyway, it's going to take a little while. So jump on in. Happy to do it with you. Okay. Lead flow calculation. Ready? Let's dive in. I love this part. I'm going to say that every time. Yeah, I love this part. So remember with this, we are first preparing for a dramatic demonstration. Then we're promoting the demonstration, which I think of it like the tent, right? Marketers are event throwers. That's really all we are. We used to call webinars a virtual event, like 10 years ago. Right? It was an event. We think of it like an event. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Then, once we actually, there's a certain time when we actually sound the cannons. The event is ready to rock. Let's sound the cannons off. Now it's time to pitch. What are we doing with them when they're in the room? Right? Step one is getting them in the room. Step two is what do you do with them once they're there, whether that be an actual event or just a virtual demonstration. Then, after that, how would you go repurpose this? Let's take the show on the road, a traveling demonstration, right? So I wanted to create a way to one of the frustrations I had sometimes with, like, I built a funnel. I didn't know if it was working. I knew in terms of, like, money was coming in. But how do I actually, like, set expectations? If not all money is created equal, not all leads are created equal, is this one activity actually worth me continuing to do? Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I wanted to come up with a formula. And that's what this really is. So this is the daily lead flow calculator. Now, the way we measure sales is obviously we collect cash, right? And average cart value, cost per acquisition, right? That's the sales way. Notice I'm saying marketing versus sales. How we measure the sale is money. How much did we spend, right? Average cart value, cost per acquisition. I wanted another way to kind of figure out how to measure my expectations for marketing. The tell me more. How do I measure the tell me more hand raises and the quality of them coming in? And so measuring is important. Peter Drucker is the man. I love these quotes, 3 different quotes from him. He said, what gets measured gets managed. If you want it, measure it. If you can't measure it, forget it. I love that. I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. So I don't want to always make these feelings in marketing just based on gut feel, right? I was talking to my dad about this. A number of years ago. We were... growing up, he's an executive at IBM. He built all these industry standards in coding. I was going to be a programmer like him when I first semester of college, and I got to my first semester of college, and I sat down, and they handed out the textbook. My dad's name was on it. And I was like, this can't be like Grant. What? Oh, that's a different guy. So I called my dad after. I was like, is this you? Come on, it's not you. That's funny. Who's the other Grant Larson in this industry? He goes, no, that's me. I invented and helped you invent unified modeling language. Any coders in here? Right? So yeah, so he was on the committee that invented that. And I was like, what? How come you never told me this? He's like, I just didn't think you'd think it'd be cool. I was like, it's very cool. What are you talking about? And he created all these modeling languages so that you could model a piece of code before building it. You know, it's the equivalent of creating a blueprint for a building, but for code. You know, and I'm saying this because if we're starting to say we can't just use gut feel, is my point. Right? I was talking to him and I was saying, isn't it interesting that big brother, like massive companies, they're not using false beliefs in their marketing. They're using data, millions and billions of lines of credit card data to figure out what we want to buy before we know we want to buy it, right? I was like, years ago I was talking about this. How interesting that that's how those guys solve marketing problems. But the way our world solves marketing problems is with origin stories and false beliefs. And that's great and it works. But like, what if we could kind of merge a little? And that's where some of this came from. So if you can't measure it, don't do it, right? And so I wanted a way to, and I know that there are people that would not agree with me on that, but I still want to somehow figure out how can I measure this in my dramatic demonstration and set some kind of expectation besides more money, right? That can't just obviously that's the point, but anyway, I love this next quote. Because the purpose of business is to create a customer. Love how clear that is. The business enterprise has two and only two basic functions: marketing and innovation. Marketer, entrepreneur. That's it. Marketing and innovation produce results. All the rest are costs. Isn't that cool? I'm going to give you guys a formula for this in a little while. Actually, it'll be tomorrow. Okay. All the rest are costs. I love that quote. It's been on my actual wall for years, from Peter Drucker. I basically want to be like him. So the cliche marketing metrics that we use are really funnel metrics, is average cart value and cost per acquisition. And they're great metrics and you should know them. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to, again, come up with a formula for this. So lead flow expectations change basically, obviously, based on whatever phase you are in business, right? The beginning, you're just basically, remember when you crossed that first 100K? Think about what you had to do. What were you doing back then that you're not anymore? Think about that. It's interesting, not that actual much marketing is involved to get past 100K. It's actually pretty easy. You could just pitch 24/7 on the phone, you know? It's a pitch thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking a year or about?
Just 100 grand in general. Yeah, crossing a 100K mark, right? You could just, I remember the first time I made 10 grand in a day, and it was with one sale, right? And you're like, what, 10 grand? And all these, remember that first 10K? All these false beliefs are falling from your eyes, like, this is possible. Remember that? I was in a Wendy's. I was like, oh my gosh. If I can do 10 grand, I could definitely do 100. If I could do 100, I could do 1,000,000, you know? Remember that? That feeling? But look, my point, though, is that your lead flow systems definitely change as your organization grows. It has to. It has to. It's one of the things that keeps it where it is. And so if your organization's been feeling stuck for a while and kind of plateauing, one of the first places I audit is the lead flow systems. Not that they might be wrong. Maybe there's not enough of them. Maybe there's a lot of things that could be wrong, but it's certainly not the same things that you probably are doing back here, right? I found some stat from the SBA. Only 24% of businesses ever hit 100 grand. It's nuts. 3% ever cross 1 million. Isn't that crazy? You guys are 3% or?
Ever.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think it's ever because yearly is even less than that for 100.
Yearly is even less. Isn't that crazy? It's nuts. You know how much you have to make to become a 1%er, by the way? How much you personally have to take home? It's only 240 grand. But the average takes home about 1 million. But to join the 1% club, you only have to be 240. You're all probably 1%ers, don't even know it. Isn't that crazy? It's nuts. But anyway, when you start to cross the 1 million, there's a different set of lead flow activities you got to go do, right? Especially if you're going to be consistent and maintain it. Now, what does this step require compared to these others? Well, back here, you're really just asking with 100 grand, you really does my sales message work? Maybe I have a hook, right? you can kind of just stay in the sales seat. When we start to get like, when we really want to go across like $1 million, which we all know is not really that much money. You're not a millionaire when your business makes $1 million, right? It's like the big, everyone's like, how much money did you keep? Industry standard levels, jerk. You don't understand accounting, right? Right? That drives me, yeah, you do. Yeah, exactly. I didn't make $1 million until I crossed 3, just because, right? It's just how it works. You don't keep $1 million. It's nuts. So, yeah, anyway, when you cross that $1 million, right, what you're really starting to shift it more towards is scaling lead gen systems. And as much as possible, you're trying to remove you, but this is really where a lot of marketing effort starts to push in. Right? Moving, when you go to that 10 million, right, that 10 million piece, you're really scaling sales systems. Right here, you're scaling lead systems. Now you're scaling sales systems, and you kind of enter this dance where you scale the sales systems. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? You scale the sales systems, then you're like, we need more leads. We scaled our sales systems too high. And then you're like, oh man, let's go get more leads. And then you're like, oh man, we have way too many leads. We can't close them all, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? That dance? That's really where the dance begins, right? And so in efforts to solve this, I don't think I finished this next piece right here. Sorry about that. But in order to go solve this, that's why I'm teeing up this calculator so much. This is midnight, and I forgot to swipe out this picture. I'm sorry. I am human. Yeah, thank you. No, but this is part of what I wanted to talk about. Is there was a who's on the next slide? Nope. Okay. You guys know the Hermosis? Yeah. I love them. They're awesome. They invited Marley and I to go hang out at Bear Lake with them a little bit. I'm so sorry. I have freakishly good hearing. I sleep with shooting earplugs in at night. I hear someone talking and it throws me. Thank you. So, appreciate it. Anyone sleep with shooting earplugs? You do? Okay. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I got like these like giant... Are my ears big? I'm now self-conscious. Okay.
You're just Superman.
No, man, gosh. Last night I was trying to fall asleep, and my brain was like, let's make music. I was like, no, shut up. You ever do that?
No, never.
Yeah, you do that? No, it's funny because like I was falling asleep last night, and I sang in a barbershop quartet growing up. I was in choirs from 4th grade through college. I played drums for 7 years. I wrote piano sheet music as a kid. All my siblings are like these music prodigies. It's nuts. They took it so much further than me. But I can't get stuff out of my head beats-wise. So I was like falling asleep. I was like, just to play it out. So I was trying to fall asleep, and I was like, okay, first bass line. All right, now let's add in the drum beat. All right, now let's add in the treble. I just kept adding it in. Anyone else do that? No? Okay. Yeah, me either. That's dumb. It's funny. It makes me tired, though. So I'm like, okay, that's nice. Like relaxes my head. Then I could fall asleep. Anyone? All right. Too many rabbits. That's a rabbit with a rabbit. Back up. Okay. We're with the Hermosis. We're at Bear Lake. They asked us to go hang out with them. All right. So for a few days, we're at vacation with the Hermosis. And they rented this little boat. And it's just Alex and Leza, Marley and I. And we're in this little boat. And we rented a boat. And the boat, it was like this tour. So this guy's like excited to take us around the tour and stuff. But we didn't really care about the tour. We just wanted to talk. So Marley and Layla are sitting on the front of the boat talking. And Alex and I are sitting back by the entrance with our feet in the water, like kicking, talking to each other. I was like, I just need this guy to start singing Italian. Like, you know. So I was like, hey, you made like 120 million in like a couple of years. He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. Talk to me about that. Like, tell me, what's up? How'd you do that? He's like, well, we had the same crappy 2-page funnel the whole time. I was like, interesting. And like, what's that ratio for you? How many salespeople did you think you needed? And he said a number that I've heard repeated multiple times, and I thought I'd pass it on here. And I've heard this repeated from finance people, from salespeople, from marketers, and it's not talked about enough. And the metric is 3-to-1. For every cost in the business, to offset that cost and still have profit, there should be 3 salespeople or sales things. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. For every dollar that's leaving, I expect to have 3 return, right? So if you take your minimum monthly spend and you're like, all right, what's that? What should be that times 3 number that's coming back? And if not, maybe I'm not employing that dollar correctly. Or maybe the cost on the business, like, right? So you notice, Angie and I are in the business. We are offset by a disproportionate, intentionally amount of sales things to offset the costs. Is this cool to hear? Yeah. I also will consider a sales funnel, a salesperson, so to speak. But I also think of that, though, in terms of the offer. It's like if I have my main offer, I'm going to want 3 funnels or demonstrations at a minimum to just support it and keep the consistent lead flow healthy for that business, for that offer. So that's one of the KPIs I'm looking for is, am I hitting this like 3-to-1 ratio? Now, one of the ways, kind of dovetail into this story, as a sales guy, they have their own metric. The metric is that they knew if you were just like hanging out in your car or in a McDonald's with air conditioning, some pest control is hot. They knew because whether or not you were getting 1 to 2 lay down sales each day. And the way they knew is if you were knocking 100 doors. So the metric, and this was the same metric I was given in 3 different sales jobs who did not know each other, literally different geographic locations around the US. This is a very common, knock 100 doors per day, you'll get 1 to 2 lay down sales. Interesting. And that was powerful because someone could suck at the script. The salesperson could actually be a bad salesperson, and they knew if you were on the doors or not just based on the volume of people you're engaging with each day. Interesting. This is huge because if you're like, all right, how do we translate this to our time? It's like, well, if sales volume is starting to drop, it's like, well, are you doing the equivalent of 100 knocks a day? When I was a telemarketer, it was 100 dials a day. If you wanted to keep your seat, they tracked it. You had to make 100 dials a day outbound, 100 dials a day. And if you weren't, too many days in a row, they fire you and they get to the next seat. It's just a revolving door. It's kind of boiler room-ish. That cool to see this? Yeah. The reason I'm saying this is because it's very easy in the funnel space and internet marketing space to build the wrong kind of lopsidedness where we build, this hit me like 5 years into being on my own. I was like, oh crap, I'm accidentally building a marketing company instead of a sales company that uses marketing. I created a lopsidedness, right? Too many marketing activities and not enough sales activities to balance out all the leads I was generating. When you talk to a sales team, what do they always want more of? Leads. Right. When you talk to a marketer, what do they have a lot of? Usually leads, right? But it's funny that we treat them differently. As a sales guy, it's funny when we're like, I have 5 booked calls today. I'm going to talk to 5 people. That's amazing. But if you talk to a marketer, they're like, oh, only 5 people said that they wanted, right? They're like, it wasn't 5 billion people coming through the front of that funnel, right? Marketers tend to treat leads a little more poorly than a salesperson, right? And so what we're doing is I'm trying to tell you, like, are you balancing, if it's a 3-to-1 ratio in terms of sales and costs, let's move one more step out and say, make sure that you're building a sales-focused company that leverages marketing and not a marketing company that forgets to sell. Because I did that for years. Yeah? Hey, real quick, if you're liking this video, I actually made the Google Sheet that I'm talking about right now for you. It's free. It took me a while to think through all of it. It is just a download in the description down below. What'll happen is you put your email in, and then actually it's a Google Sheet that goes over and you create a copy. What I want you to do with it is put your current marketing metrics in there and just increase everything by 10% and see how much cash flow your business is actually sitting on. It all starts with a link down in the description.
So Steve, I'm so resonating with this message, man. This is so amazing. When we went to Brazil to start our business in Brazil in 2022, what we found out is that 99% of the people, they're using the product launch formula to sell their product. And it's so interesting because people invest in millions. They would capture like 500,000 leads, 200,000, 300,000 leads. And at the end of the funnel, they would sell to 0.5 to 1% of that list.
Wow.
So you can imagine, like, you do a launch, you capture 100,000 leads, and you sell to 1,000, and you throw 99,000 leads in the trash can.
Yeah.
And they would do that every 45 days. And then that's what I told them, right? Your marketing system is really good at attracting the leads.
Yeah.
But it does a terrible job in selling to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I kind of compare like when you have like, let's say a an appliance that washes and dries your clothes. It's very portable. It's very easy to use, but it's never going to perform better than if you have a appliance that would wash and another one that would dry. The best ones, you know. So what I really see the difference is that when they started implementing actually, because salespeople, they actually sell, right? That's what they're trained for. And then as soon as they started having like a call center or sales team or closing centers to call this 99,000 leads or creating a system for them, then the conversion would go up to like 10%. It's a lot more money in the pocket. So what you're saying right now, it's just amazing because I really feel like marketing does marketing and sales does sales. And then if you want to do marketing to sell, it's okay, but it's not the most efficient way to sell something.
Yeah. It's like you end up creating an organization that's focused on like, I better have 1,000 opt-ins to this or it's not worth it. But if you talk to a salesperson, you're like, oh, I got 1,000 people. Like, it's going to bury them. You know what I mean? It's just such a different, we treat leads differently. And it's not always a positive thing, And so that's when I was like, oh man, I got to that's one of the reasons why I built this stuff on the other side is to have a sales floor to remind myself always that I used to have 12 sales guys out here, which was too many.
Wow.
But they were always hungry for leads. And it's what showed me like, oh my gosh, I need to make sure my marketing is lead gen focused instead of, but we got 5 more channel subscribers. Like, it's not saying that's not valuable. It's just, if we're talking money, right? Just like, David Ogilvy at the beginning of this, right? They don't think in terms of selling. They've never tasted blood, right? You need to think about marketing in terms of closing the sale, not just getting attention for the sake of it. All right, I'm going to keep going here for a little bit because I want to show you guys the actual calculator. But that is the point I'm trying to make with this is how many leads does your demonstration need to produce for you to say that was worth it? That's what I'm trying to get to. That's what this calculator does. Okay, so most companies accidentally mistreat their leads. I was just talking about that. And you think about it, how many leads do you actually need to actually double your cash flow? It's probably fewer than you think. When you think like a salesperson, a sales-focused organization, when you think like a marketing-focused organization, it's like more always, all the time, right? And that's not a bad thing, but just realize they're different mentalities. They have different values. Neither is wrong. They're both right. But it's easy for us from funnel space to focus on just the marketing aspect of what this means. So one of the ways that we do this is just a quick pulse on how you treat your leads. Just ask yourself culturally, how many times as a rule do you follow up with each lead? How many times do you follow up with a lead before putting them on the back burner? And this is a good indicator of, am I building a marketing only focused and I hardly ever pitch? Right? Or does my pitch volume also match my marketing volume? And if I could go back to myself in earlier times, I would remind myself that the number one KPI for me to focus on is pitch volume. Right? Pitch volume. How frequently, I think it was Dan Kennedy, he said, the market will treat you exactly as you train it to. Right? Anytime I can look at my wallet and go, ooh, getting a little light, I can immediately look at my calendar and be like, how many times have I pitched recently? Right? Number one KPI, pitch volume. And that's how we're going to focus on a sales organization that leverages the tool of marketing and lead gen from dramatic demonstrations. So and this is one of the stats from the sales companies I was in. They taught us, they're like, hey, like 92% of sales pros give up after the 4th call. But 80% of prospects they have to say no 4 times before they say yes. And that doesn't mean no in terms of like, we're not talking to no like someone slamming on the door. I'm not talking being annoying. Just follow-up. Simple follow-up, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Okay? And we have to follow up more times than we think, and it's not that we're being annoying. How you do it matters, right? But typically, we don't do a lot of follow-up in the marketing space because we have a marketing head, but a sales mentality needs this, right? So you need less leads than you think you do typically in order to grow. Yeah, I can hand it over to Steve. Fantastic name, by the way. Name of the chosen.
Thank you. Hey, this may be a really dumb question, but if a lead isn't an opt-in or a registration for an event, like what are you measuring like as a lead? Like what is a lead that you are then going to show us how to like calculate and track and so on?
Yeah, it's not that leads aren't opt-ins, it's why they opted in. You know what I mean? So if they're opting in for a free PDF and it has nothing to do or ever reference the thing you're going to pitch them, it was just an opt-in, It's not a lead for that offer, That's how I think about it. So it could be that they opt in and it is a lead, because on the page you're like, I want to get on the phone with you and show you how I'm going to help double your lead flow. And as a special thank you for just even taking this gamble, I got a cool PDF. That's a lead, right? Because now they're a lead that's tied to the expectation for what I'm going to go talk to them about. But it's just like, oh, here's my free PDF, and they download it, and then you're like, you're a lead. You like get that hand up. Right? You know, that's how I separate it.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, it's not that it's not a lead; it's why. Okay, let me keep going here though. So here's the actual calculator itself. So this took a long time for me to come up with. What we first have to understand with this formula is that not all leads are created equal, right? And to just illustrate this, actually this is a fun way to think about it. Let's say that on the left side, if there's such thing as a dream customer, right, then there's such thing as a nightmare. We got to be honest about that, right? So on the left is the nightmare. They buy painfully, and if they buy, they succeed with you painfully, right? They play 20 questions for every question they ask, and there's always 20 of those. They are the worst on your support, right? They're the people, they're the ones that they're still buying, but they just suck to fulfill with, right? I remember this guy once, he's like, I paid you, where's my 2 comma club? And I was like, you haven't done a freaking thing I said. I was like, it's not on me to do that. You're Frodo, I'm Gandalf. You got to I'm not doing your journey for you. Move your feet. Anyway. I'm going to back off that horse too. So, and then on the right, by complete opposition, over here, we're buying easily and succeeding easily, meaning they see the value of what you've created so simply. You know what I'm talking about? They're like really easy to sell to. They're in frustration, they're in pain, or they want to move to some massive pleasure or whatever that is. They buy quick, and because you've done a great job, they also succeed quick. That's a dream customer. Right, over there's the nightmare. So what I want you to do is just really quick, just take an internal pulse on the quality of your last month's leads. Would you say that it represents your dream? Or are you kind of attracting with your marketing right now, maybe a little more of the nightmare? It's probably impossible to hit 0 or 100 entirely. You're probably going to be some like, 50% of my leads are great, and for 25% of my leads, right? But just ask yourself, of the people that have approached your business and said, interesting, tell me more, rate the quality of the hand raise. Oh my gosh, I got all these, tell me more. It's like, you're asking me what a funnel is. Okay, you're not my dream. Okay. Does this make sense? Quick little gut pulse. And really, this is where marketing and sales have to talk to each other. So sales is talking to the leads, and marketing is you're not done just because you generated a lead. You got to go back to sales and say, hey, sales, how the leads been? Be honest with me. Oh, they've been good, about 50%. So we have this. This is a metric, right? They're like, this is a part of our end-of-day metrics that my salespeople submit. They're like, what's the quality of the lead coming in? They're like, 50%. And what we're talking about is this. And it tells me, oh, man, I wonder if that hook. See, where's the traffic coming from right now? Oh, I got to go upgrade that hook a little bit because we're 50%. How can I get it to 70, right? And now there's a feedback loop with marketing and sales. Do you mind if I keep going? Because they're probably, let me keep going here, and then we'll do comments after this. So here's the actual calculator, though, and it's very simple. Everything starts with how can I make more money, that we were focused on sales in a marketing mentality. So number one, all we're doing is saying, what's your number of leads right now? Let's say you're getting 10 opt-ins per day or whatever, right? So you're like, all right, 10. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by the quality of those leads. 50%. Half of them are the dream, half of them are the nightmare, or whatever. Right? Then I'm going to multiply by what my conversion rate is. Like, it looks like we got a 15% conversion rate on the phones or on the funnel or whatever. I just put my conversion rate in. Then all I'm doing is I'm adding in the price of whatever it is that I'm selling to them, and that equals, with usually some degree of confidence, some kind of daily cash flow. Right? So this is the daily lead flow calculator, which is the predecessor to daily cash flow. And it's interesting. I've done this with a lot of people now, and it gets pretty close to where people's current cash flow is if you really know what these numbers are. This is also how I will continue to measure the demonstration while it's going, while I'm preparing for it, afterwards. I'm constantly just asking myself, like, what's the quality of that hand raise? How's my conversion rate going? So, track your daily lead flow and cash flow to magically see both begin to rise. What gets measured gets managed, right? So if we're going to measure it, just by measuring constantly, you'll start to see that these kind of go, because there's awareness there now, right? They'll kind of improve usually from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this, now that we know a formula, how easy it is to actually manipulate things. All right, so we got lead flow, lead flow, quality, conversion rate, and daily. So let's say 5. And part of why I'm bringing this up is to give some legitimate numbers to like doubling cash flow in a company doesn't necessarily mean getting 1 billion more opt-ins. And it's kind of what we do as marketers. More, always, better, fast, all the time, right? And then we're like, I better go pay Sucker all of my profit from my last launch so I can do this, right? And you're like, right? And you get caught in this loop. So that's why we're doing this. Let's say 5 leads, not that many, right? And let's say that half of them are actually good. Let's say you convert 10%, and let's say you sell a $500 thing, right? I just chose a random price. All right, daily cash flow around $125, monthly $3,700. All right, if we just simply double and don't change anything else, no surprise, double the cash flow. But doubling isn't always the answer. Doubling lead flow is not always the answer, right? So let's say that we double, and I'm just going to increase by just a couple. I'm not even going to be amazing. Right? I'm going to just increase my lead quality, keep everything else the same, and you'll start to see really quickly what the metrics in here really do to you. Right now, let's say that I just get a little bit better converting. Going from 10% conversion rate to 15, we all know in this room is not like monumental, right? But it can have monumental changes by the end. Right? Well, look at that. We're already up to 525. Bam. Now we're like, you can like pay for things now at that cash flow level. Like you just pay for some tools, right? Then I'm like, all right, now let's say that most people will be like, just charge more. All right. Look at the interesting difference between like, I just added 10% bump. And notice it's not actually that much of it. Like it's not where the huge lift comes from. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is like, what is the math behind the marketing that you really need to go do with this demonstration to truly make a real impact on your company? And so what I wanted to do is if we look at the dramatic demonstration formula itself, notice that channel affects these numbers like crazy. Okay? If I'm going to go do something with a business, like a big business or a Dream 100 or an influencer, what's going to happen to this number? Daily? It's probably nothing, right? If an influencer comes in and says, right, that's going to be probably like a big burst, right? And so sometimes we'll say, well, it's not worth doing because no, it's actually, what's probably going to happen to the lead quality though? I'm getting endorsed by an influencer. This quality, bam, that's going to go way closer to 100%. I'm getting awesome leads because of it. Conversion rate, same thing. I'm getting endorsed by someone big, right? The lead value, whatever that is, toss that part in. But my point is like, wow, look how this starts to manipulate based on the channels from the dramatic demonstration formula itself, right? Organic content, I always get lower lead flow, but I get higher lead quality. If someone's searching my YouTube video, that's a very different person than me just interrupting them on YouTube. And they're like, get out of here. I just want to watch the thing. I don't want your ad. You know what I mean? That's a different kind of traffic, right? Right. So if it's organic, usually the lead quality is high. Conversion rate, a little bit higher, if I've really been indoctrinating them. Now, if I go down to the actual ads place, that one I have a lot more control over daily lead flow, but often, it's kind of it's a wider net you're casting. And usually the lead quality, you know what I'm talking about, right? The lead quality drops a little bit. Conversion rate not as awesome. You got to pay a little bit more for that. And the point I was making here is like, all right, your owned lists. Well, daily, they're already on your list. So, that one drops a little bit, but lead quality probably is high. Conversion rate is probably a little bit higher traffic, right? And then as far as like doing something out just in like general social media or out in the public street, that's a very different. Anyway, that's my point, is that these are all tools and none of them do the same thing in terms of that formula, but they definitely all contribute to it. And when you use them together, that formula is awesome, right? And the demonstration of piece is awesome. So, it's helpful. I got a cool thing I'm going to give you in a second. So, I definitely use these numbers to roughly judge how clearly my offer hook is attracting my dream customer. So there's one more piece of this before I actually give you the calculator, which is that, let's say I just wrote an offer hook. How do I know it's good? Am I going to go do a massive demonstration without knowing that the hook is good? So this is a real hook test that I did back in September. And so I wrote this hook, and I'm not going to read it all, but it's all this stuff behind it. And I went out and I just made this post. And I said, hey, if you're interested in this thing, it's a 21-minute video. I want to drop it to you. And it was an offer hook. I was testing an offer hook. And from that, here's the numbers that I got. 8 people booked a call for the next week with me. They didn't know it was with me. I don't tell them that. So it's a surprise, but I'm testing the hook. 2 didn't show up, so 6 left. 4 of the 6 were not qualified. Okay, they were broke, pretty hard broke. Okay, and I got 1 sale. So I was like, okay, cool. That's not bad metrics, right? It's a little test. So what do you think I changed? Yeah, my hook was too wide. The offer hook was getting people to raise their hand in my little test, but now I can see that it was not enough of a filter. Way too many unqualified people. So now that means I just come back here, and the way we manipulate lead quality is with the offer hook. Whose eyes do I look into if my conversion rate is low? Sales, right? Whose eyes do I look into if my lead value kind of or the actual thing, the price of the thing that I'm selling? Usually the entrepreneur. Right? Entrepreneur can be sometimes undervaluing what they created, right? Like raise the price. Whose eyes do I look into if the overall lead flow itself is low? Marketer. These are different roles being responsible for different pieces in your organization for this formula. Okay. Yeah, so I'm testing the hook to see if it worked. So after that, that's when I went and did my offer launch event. Because once I knew the hook was good, I knew I could pitch. So after that little test, that's when I decided to do my event in the fall. And I was like, okay, that worked. I got it. I got enough feedback from the market to see what the issues were. And then I broke out the calculator you're about to go see. And the other way that I really increased my lead flow quality was I just started putting the phrase 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur everywhere. So that if you're not 7 and 8, it bounces them. Now, it still isn't the best, but I put that, it's all over the place. Right? It's all over with this calculator piece. It makes sense? I'm setting the bar pretty unapologetically. And both from a hook perspective, but also on the page going, hey, let's upgrade this. I'm not getting the right people coming in. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to give you the rest of the calculator here, but I just want you to realize that marketing is actually very forgiving. It's not an exact science. And like when you see Russell and I up here talking about this stuff, and we're talking like, just like he was saying, he's like, I don't have everything planned out. I'm in the middle of the moment. And I'm feeling the pulse of the market. This game is not about being a genius. It's about being a detective. You're just listening to the market. Can you hear your market? And then when, like yesterday, I was sitting over there listening to Russell speak, and I was like, oh, okay, based on your comments, there's a few things I need to go tweak. That's all it is. I'm just listening. And I'm like, oh, cool. Based on the pulse of the market, let me go switch that. And can you hear the market is really just half of the game. So it's very forgiving. The offer hook is forgiving. This formula that I'm showing you is not an exact science either. It's like very much gut feel, but it's meant to just give you a little check on how things are going in terms of measuring your pipeline. Oh yeah, Steve, you big sexy, go to the calculator. All right. So I'm going to airplay.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Thank you for the pity laugh, everybody. So this calculator is also for your download in the templates thing. Boom. When I'm doing like an audit, I built a consulting practice called Titans of Industry. It's got a little mastermind on the back of it. And it's, several of you guys are in it. Yeah. It's super fun. There we are. Schnazzy. Boom. There we go. Okay. So,
Welcome back, Steve.
well, thank you. Thank you. See me leave from the room a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so this forgot what I was saying about the other. Sorry about that. So right here, this whole thing just has templates for you of things I keep referencing. So down here, right here is the lead flow calculator itself. So you can download this thing, and I turned it into an awesome like Google sheet that you can just clone out. And there's a training that comes with it that walks you through how to actually use it or whatever. But anyway, so you download the copy right here. It's going to make a new copy. So I'm going to give this to you, and I want you to just take a little bit of time here. We're going to only just for 10 minutes. I'm a little bit over on time here, but so this is the beginning of the calculator. Now all you're going to do is you're going to fill out just where the yellow and the orange is, right? So number one, all I want you to do is put in your current numbers. Again, gut feel, right? Then just tweak a little bit. And my favorite thing to do is just add 10% to each of these. 10%, nothing high. Watch what happens when you just add 10% to each of these, and like it's insane what happens. More than double with a 10% lift in these different areas. We're not talking mastery in each of these things, 10%. Right? Then what's kind of cool too is to come in and say, well, like, what if you're like, you know what? All my metrics are good, but man, I can just tell my offer hook sucks. Let me just go manipulate that one. So this calculator will walk through and just show you really easily also, like if I just focused on one thing and I kept everything else the same. And then this also shows you what happens if you kind of stack them together. So just remember that the 5 rules to think of while you fill this out is that marketing is attention getting measured in lead gen. That's it. Number 2, marketing is only created to attract the dream customer, not volume. Right? Volume doesn't matter if they're all bad buyers. Sure. Rule number 3, the dream customer is somebody who buys quickly and succeeds quickly. Number 4, we scale the sales role without you in it. Right? That's what we start thinking of. How can we get you out of the sales role? And number 5, charge more. All right, so just back here with my slide pieces. We're right here. So this is what we're going to do now. And on the templates thing, you can download this piece right here. We're just going to take 10 minutes, actually 9 minutes. Is that cool? Oh, I got one question here for Pedro. But Fabio. What you're going to do is come in here and just add these pieces. So fill out the calculator, and then daily lead flow, rank the quality of your stuff, the conversion rate, lead value, and then all I want you to do is add 3 leads, and then improve your lead quality by 10%, 10%, 10%, and watch what happens. And what you're going to see also is wherever you're weakest. Marketing, offer hook, like copy, right? The actual sales role or entrepreneurship. Cool. Oh, do you have the box there, Fabio?
So for lead value, I have a 35K offer, but like 90% of the people don't pay 35K. They give like a 5K or 10K. So the lead value is 35K or whatever cash they actually give me.
It's definitely going to be adapted based on situation.
Okay.
Some people in here are selling like a $97 trinket, and some are selling a $100,000 package. And so it kind of depends what you want. I would personally add in whatever your core offer is. Okay. Whatever why the offer that you created to be in business around, focus on that one first, and really audit that. Because when you sell the core offer, that means you're in business, right? And so you might have a high ticket or low ticket or whatever, but I personally put in just like the core thing so that I know the rest of the engine is running in my business itself. Yeah. And maybe you have to change it to monthly if you sell less frequently a massive package or whatever. But this will have to be adapted a little bit based on each of your businesses. Toss it right here.
If everybody in this room was your ideal client, could you walk through the scenario of what it took to get us here in this room, and then out of who's in this room, what percentage you would hope to see ascend and so forth and so on to give us
tomorrow
a peak? Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow actually. Yeah.
I have a quick follow-up question on this.
Yeah.
I'm running an evergreen challenge right now, which is really cool, but I'm looking at this like we don't really... Would lead quality is the question. Would lead quality be having people finish that evergreen and get to the point of seeing the offer?
I've seen people use the lead quality metric for a front-end funnel where it's like, let's say you're selling like a $7.95 free plus shipping book, right? Well, basically I'm coming in, I'm saying what percentage of the people coming in are a dream customer who are actually buying?
Usually people.
But then if you're like, hey, I'm going to do a challenge, you could say to yourself, well, I'm going to change this to say like what percentage of people in the challenge are actually my dream. There was a challenge I did a year ago, and I was like, yeah, all these people are in, and like nobody bought. Yeah. Nobody. It didn't attract the right customer. It didn't nobody bought my back end thing. So like we had volume, but the lead quality was 2%. I mean, it was nuts. So I do change it based on whatever campaign I'm running or marketing thing I'm doing. This will look different, basically, obviously for an event versus something that's a tripwire funnel or something that's kind of low ticket.
Cool.
Yeah. There's a little jazz with it.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of new, so I'm testing it out on you guys. These are good questions. All right, I should change it for this scenario, change it for that one. You can throw it right back here to Preston.
I'm a little confused.
Preston.
I'm a little confused as the lead quality and conversion rate. So if I get on 20 calls in a week, and I convert 5 of them, that's a 25% conversion rate. But does that, if I put lead quality as like not all of those people that jumped on the call were 100%, so I either told them no or whatever, I fired them after a month. Like how do I put that into the calculator? Like I'm really, because if I put 0.5 as, hey, the lead quality was 0.5, but then I still converted 25% of everybody. I'm just trying to figure out how those two work together with this calculator?
It's really just meant to be a snapshot so that I can say to myself, where's the bleed? And like, oh man, my lead quality is sucking. Like, okay, that means my messaging is bad. I'm not speaking in good enough hooks. Right? Or if like, ooh, my conversion rate is low, let me go talk to the sales team because I'm a sales-focused organization. It's definitely not an exact science. It's definitely not something I'd show the IRS. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go show finance. These are my financials. This is just like how I audit somebody's machine really quickly so I can see in their pipeline where the squeeze is. Yeah, and you definitely you have to change it per situation like you're talking about.
I just want to say that this is genius, and what you're doing is this. Like, you're attracting your dream customers. I've literally been obsessing over this, him and I, for like the last quarter. This was like our quarterly objective. We literally I was listening to everything Alex from was saying, how do I put this into play? And like, we successfully did it, and that's how we did our best day ever. And like, this is just amazing. And I have to say hats off to my husband because he kept telling me our lead flow wasn't good enough. Our quality of leads wasn't good enough. I kept saying, no way, that's not the thing. But then when I did double down on that, that's when everything changed for us.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, again, not exact science. It's really just like just let me put my finger on the pulse. Am I hearing the market? And what I'm really doing is I'm listening to my pipeline. When did they say, tell me more? What's the quality of the tell me more? What's the volume of people coming on in? What am I selling? And it helps me just really quickly create a picture of just like, okay, just a gut feel. I think that's the problem.
In response to that, one of the things I've built to analyze businesses is like that full pipeline. And pulling this back up now to do this, like, you've connected a piece for me that I've not known how to build very well. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart for that. And that concept that you even shared yesterday, that every time we build a magnet, we have to build a filter.
Yeah.
And your concept on this, offer hook and these things yesterday, one of the filters I didn't know how it, like, better outputs means better questions. And I couldn't figure out what is the question I need to ask my dream client to filter so that I'm only spending the most valuable commodity in a business, which is time and energy. How do I get to only spend my time and energy with the most high converting members? Like, what's the filter? And that one question finally came to me yesterday. So thank you. Like, that was worth my entire year's worth of work this year, just that one piece. So thank you.
Thanks for saying it on camera. Thank you. All right, last one here, and then I will push us forward, okay? We've got to keep moving forward.
Quick one. On lead value for a continuity product, do you put an annual price in or a monthly price?
Dealer's choice.
Okay.
Some situations, people are going to want a lifetime value-based thing here. I tend to, though, want to make sure that my marketing in the moment is paying for itself.
Yeah.
So I will mostly do, like, in the moment pricing.
Okay.
Yeah. Which obviously that gets really happy when you're using organic traffic, Also. Thanks, Owen.